Guys know this, but we were actually supposed to do a roast for Dad's birthday, for his 50th birthday, and I was gonna MC. So there was some video that I was supposed to watch, and we were gonna do a whole thing. But you know, one thing I love about my dad is his sense of humor. But one thing my dad also loves about himself is his sense of humor. so he was worried about the jokes and this, that, and the third.
I wanted to write everyone's jokes.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Like how you wanted us to have a surprise party.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly like
I'm getting that. I'm
you
getting
know.
it.
But before I get into all that, I just want to say yesterday was awesome. Today's been awesome to celebrate, especially to have Papa here, and for all of us to be here. As I've gotten older, it's been really awesome to get to know my dad in a different way, as an adult especially, and as the oldest of the Murray boys. Other than his sense of humor, there's so many other things I look up to him for. The way he takes care of us, the way he takes care of Mom, the example that he sets for us is very selfless, and that is not lost upon me for sure. And I was reading over your shoulder, it's not lost on my brothers either.
I know. Yeah.
They see that, and when I was younger, you know, you hear people say like, my dad's my biggest role model, my dad's my hero. I never really understood that, but it's definitely something that I could say now, and again, he sets a great example for us. We've been able to just connect like in so many other ways, first starting about sports, but again, as I get older, about work, about girl troubles, life, all these other things, and just chopping it up with him has been a cool growth experience for me.
He didn't get catfish last week. It was really a day. I was worried. But anyway, go ahead.
I went on a date, and again, to his great humor, oh, how did you meet this girl? Oh, just like one of my other brothers online. Yeah, that's what the kids do these days. First thing he says, well, you better hope it's not a dude. Luckily it wasn't, so we're good on that front.
As far as you know.
Yeah. But, you know, again, as I've gotten older, like I went to one of my friend's weddings not too long ago, and I thought it was so cool how the dad of the bride got to talk because they knew each other for 10 years. Mm-hmm. So he talked about all these different stories, and I realized, you know, how special it is to share time with family, have those experiences and everything else. For a dad to look back on their kids is awesome, but for a kid to look back on the times they had and reflect with their dad is even more awesome. So we've had so many of those experiences, and for myself personally, one of them that I had was my study abroad. And that was really transformational for me. I went back for my 22nd birthday, FaceTime Dad, Mom, all that stuff. So they supported me through all that. And I was fortunate enough to get a multi-$1,000 scholarship for that study abroad. Traveled all around, and without that I wouldn't have been able to. And I don't think anybody actually knows this, because I didn't tell anybody. But I remember very specifically, there was no doubt in my mind I was going to get the scholarship because of my resume academically, but also because of the scholarship essays that I wrote. And I hope that I don't get choked up, because I remember sitting in the library and it actually kind of brought me to tears. So today, on your 50th birthday, I want to read it for you because I chose to write about my dad.
Didn't know that.
So the prompt was, please write an essay that tells us about a single experience that has changed or shaped your life. Note that the experience does not need to necessarily be a big, major life experience, though it's of course fine if it is. But it's also possible it's something that's seemingly small. For example, one award-winning applicant wrote about her first day at her first job. So, my essay goes, I'd like to reminisce on a simpler time. 2002. I was 4 years old, the son to two teenage parents, living in Southern California without a worry in the world. My father was a highly recruited football player coming out of high school, so it came as no surprise to either of my parents that I have a love for sports from the time I was born. So much so that my first word as a baby was ball. I remember my father and I used to throw the football back and forth to each other over the roof of my grandmother's house, and that was one of my favorite ways to spend time with him. I felt like I was the strongest little man on the entire planet, being able to throw the football over my grandma's house. But the reality of it was that she lived in a small one-story house. The football was so miniature that it was no accomplishment to get it over that house. Half the time, the football would just barely make it over the peak of the roof and slowly roll down to my father on the other side. Still, none of this mattered to me because I was 4, didn't have a worry in the world, and was spending time doing something fun with my father. Time passed, and my parents began to argue a lot. Their feelings towards each other changed, and eventually they split apart, leaving me with no father to throw the football over my grandma's roof. Still, life went on, and my mom was lucky to find a man who loved her enough to marry her and raise me as if I were his own. So we moved across the country from Southern California to Washington, D.C., and started a new life. My new stepdad wasn't quite the athlete that my biological dad was.
but he's not as funny as me. I can guarantee you that.
But he didn't let that prevent him from fostering my love for sports. When I was 6 years old, he signed me up to play youth soccer, but it was something that I had never done before and was scared to try. On the morning of the first game, tears poured down my face. I struggled to catch my breath and was scared to try something new that I thought I wasn't going to be good at. Sure enough, my stepdad was there to calm me down. Together we went outside our little 3rd-story apartment to the grass field in our complex and just kicked the ball back and forth to each other. He helped me put on my shin guards, tie my cleats, and told me that everything was going to be okay. That as long as I tried my best, he'd always be proud of me. At the time, that moment had no gravity for me. I was 6. Now, though, as a 20-year-old young man who has friends with children, I appreciate that moment more than I could ever express. That shaped my life. It shaped my idea of what it means to be a man, and it showed me the difference between a father and a dad. Not a stepdad, simply a dad. It taught me that it doesn't take much to father a child. Anyone can be a father, just like anyone can throw a football over a one-story roof without a worry in the world. But dads are there when it matters. Dads are there when their 6-year-old son doesn't think he's going to be good enough to play soccer. Dads are there to put on their son's shin guards, tie their cleats, and tell them that they'll always be proud of them as long as they're doing their best. My dad didn't have to do that. He didn't have to raise me as his own. He didn't have to be there for me these last 21 years when I needed someone to show me what it means to be a man. But he always was. Always. And for that, I thank him. I love you, Dad.
Love you too. You guys make me proud. All you guys.
So this...
Proud of all my boys. All my boys. I love you guys. Keep up the good work. You gonna stand up and hug me?
So there's a lot of pictures and things Dad has in his office or whatever, but this is my essay, so that you can always have it.
Aww.
Good job, man.
Love you.
Love you too.
All right.
Oh man.